All right, so I'm realizing that this part of the story is not on my blog at all, I don't think. So this will be just something different for the videos, I guess. So at this point, I have graduated from college and moved back home briefly in between me taking this road trip across country with some of my college friends as like a graduation trip. And my mom has disappeared. So at the point that I'm leaving on this trip, I don't really know anything other than my dad's side of the story, which is that my mom just up and left and he has no idea where she is or why she left or anything of that sort. I'm like, yeah, I'm not sure either. I have no idea why she wouldn't want to be here. Keep in mind at this point, my siblings and I are all grown. My older brother, I don't know if he lives at home at this point. I don't recall if he was still at home or if he was like half and half dorms, apartment home, or what the deal was. But my little brother for sure is not home because he had left during when I was in college and basically ran away. So, there's an MO for this. So yeah, I don't know what's going on with my mom. So I leave on the trip, and then while I'm on the trip, I hear from my mom. She basically just messaged me to let me know that she's okay, and that she just needed time and space away from my dad, which that's fine. I didn't really cry any more than that, and I'm on a trip, so there's not really much that I can do at this point. When I get back, I meet up with my mom at the mall because she's still terrified of my dad. She hasn't talked to him in person at this point, but I guess they are talking on the phone is what I found out later. But she wanted to meet in a public space because that seemed safer to her. And what she told me at that point was basically on the drive back from my graduation, my older brother was driving and my dad was just nitpicking my older brother the entire way and just being really cruel and mean to him about his driving and just in general to him. And she just finally had enough. She just felt tired of how he was treating obviously my brother, but also her too, right? And how it still continued after we graduated, where my dad would be up in the middle of the night storming around complaining about the finances. And I think she just kind of was tired. What she didn't tell me was about the doctor's appointment at that point, and that her cancer also was coming back. I heard that from my dad. But at this point we know that she's going to have to do some sort of more treatment is essentially thing, but it's not kind of at a dire point at this, right? There's options essentially. But my mom's just kind of emotionally exhausted, right? Because she's sick. Obviously my dad is permanently disabled. He's not working, right? I mentioned in a previous video that by the time he was in high school, he injured himself and he was not able to work. My dad never worked again after that. So he's at home all day raging. My mom is still working part-time in the school so that they have some sort of income, but it's very inconsistent with my dad's income if he's getting disability or not as he's fighting this legal battle. So there's also kind of financial struggles, right? And so I think it was just a lot of stress for her is kind of the sense that I got. And I felt a lot of empathy for her, and obviously it was not easy for her to leave my dad. And so yeah, I was supportive of her and her decision at that point. Now, maybe a couple weeks before I left, I got a position up in NorCal. A couple weeks before I left, my mom just shows up at the door one afternoon that I'm at home, and yeah, she moves back in and my parents are back together, and I'm like, what is going on? okay. So apparently, like I said, what I didn't know that whole time is they were talking on the phone, and I guess he had convinced her that, you know, he was going to be a changed man yet again and get his stuff together and take care of her and help her. The story that she gave me years later was that she really needed his insurance to pay for her treatment, and that she knew that she wasn't going to be able to do it on her own. I don't know what's true because, yeah, I don't know. Obviously, there's not really anyone that I can ask in this sense of what's true. So yeah, that's kind of where things left off. I moved up here. I ended up staying with a friend's family for a bit until I was able to work enough to get a deposit for a place, and then I moved to San Jose. So this is still 2012 is the time frame that this is, and yeah, so I'm gonna stop there because that's kind of the end of the college years and that time frame, and that kind of gives you up to speed of what kind of like my family situation is at that point. My little brother, I didn't really go too much into his story, but my little brother is away from home. As far as contact with family, he talks to me occasionally, but I don't know that at that point he had connections with anyone else in my family. Like, he's basically disappeared. My parents were briefly separated and now kind of back together in this like honeymoon phase where, you know, my dad's still, you know, disabled. My mom is now undergoing cancer treatment. Keep in mind, I did not know that. It was not ever explicitly said that she was in cancer treatment. I just know that in hindsight that that's what was going on. And then my older brother is, I'm not sure if he's fully at home at this point or if he's kind of like in the process of getting his own place too, what the kind of deal was. So this closes this chapter of like that piece for family. The situationship, I just want to come back to that briefly because that'll be important for the next chapter when I talk about my relationship and my ex. So situationship, when I moved back up here, or when I moved back to Northern California, I still heard from him occasionally. I didn't really reach out to him. He always kind of reached out to me and would like talk to me. And I ended up meeting up with him one time, and it was just kind of more like casual friend, because we had already had the state of the relationship conversation at that point, and he was very clear that he didn't want a relationship at that point. He would prefer to kind of stay friends, which, you know, made sense. Like, he's still in school. I'm not living in the same town anymore, right? It's a lot of commitment at that point. But for me, it was kind of like, why isn't this person choosing me? I'm not good enough. What's wrong with me? I'm broken. And on top of all these other things that are happening in my external family life, right? I'm not feeling like worthy of love, so to speak. So after that hangout, I kind of realized, like, no, I still really have feelings for him, and it's not fair for either of us, right? Like, for me to stay friends with someone hoping that eventually they'll change their mind, and then for like him to kind of put me in that position, right, when, you know, he knows that I have feelings for him. I was very clear about that. So I kind of closed that out, and as I'm in a new town, a new place, I'm now living with housemates, and my housemates are like encouraging me to, like, I'm young, go out, like, meet people and date, and actually created a dating profile for me. And so I'm starting to like at least talk to other people at this point. And so I closed that chapter, but there's always something lingering with that relationship, in the sense that, like, there was always a question of like why I wasn't good enough to be chosen by him. And I think that's really important because this is right around the same time that I meet my ex-husband. And I think all of these pieces are really important to understand why it was the perfect storm for me to end up in the situation that I was in. So we're gonna end that here, and then we'll come back to my relationship in the next video.